Out of the frying pan into the fire, our fertilizer prices are going to skyrocket, and just get ready for another inflation wave of food moving through the rest of the year. There's a point at which you say, wow, this thing has gone into uncharted territory, and now truly the feedstocks for our nitrogenous fertilizers are being affected. Prices are already rising, and I didn't expect that in the US because I thought most farmers had already bought what they needed for this season's planting, at least in the beginning of what we're seeing right now in the beginning of April, May, June. Prices have already risen 77% for fertilizers. That shocked me. So if it's like that in the US where things are much more stable, what's it like for the rest of the world, and how is everybody going to cope with these higher food prices? And also now the gasoline rationing across all of Asia, at least the calls for it. Let's get into it. Crumbling infrastructure. This might be one of the reasons they never fixed anything. You keep hearing in different countries, like especially the US, bridges are falling apart, locks are falling apart, roads are falling apart. Just so many things are not being repaired, and you have to ask yourself why. But here, satellite images reveal that bridges around the world are at highest risk of collapse. 744 are in North America, mostly built in the 1960s, not maintained. And you have to ask yourself why? Why not? Was this all part of a plan somebody knew was coming to disrupt, to switch to new systems? Picture worth 1,000 words here. Port O Salah in Oman, and it's Oman's largest oil storage facility. So another one bites the dust, and then right away, airstrikes taking out flour and starch processing factory in Serah Hyderabad. This is in northwest of Iran. So they're striking now into the food production. This is getting nasty quick. Looking down into Mexico now, tortillas are all the thing. They're getting taxes on their tortillas. They're getting taxes from the cartels. And now the government says you have to do it exactly the way we say, or you get fined $225,000 just for not storing your foods properly, which means for me, it's cataloging system. They want to know where every morsel of grain is. And this was what I was always predicting on the Adapt 2030 channel. They're going to come into digital ration cards. They're going to be putting everything in IoT, or Internet of Things, on real-time digital ledger to know where exactly all the food is moving to. Now, for you to access that food, you're going to have to put some sort of token in that allows you to get that, so they can verify, validate, and also know exactly every gram that came out. Back in time, the silver was weighted against the grains of wheat, not the other way around like it is today. We're just going to step back in the past, but we're going to have a digital version of it. And again, largest oil terminal in Iran. Look at the flames on that and illuminating the mountains in the background. That's how bright and voracious this fire is. And then tit for tat, the Ruwais refinery, biggest in the Middle East, up in flames. So the oil infrastructure is being destroyed one large piece at a time. There's only one piece left. So the energy stock, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is a super important chart. So the spikes in food pricing based on the CPI, which was also calculated differently in the 70s than it is now. So you can compare, but the charts aren't going to match exactly. But the general is oil price up, oil embargo, food price up, get ready for the shock. That sort of gold color there is the increase in your food price, and the black is the increase in energy prices. You can see the energy was lower than the food. Take a deep breath on that one, because when we looked at Ukraine, also the World Food Index followed oil prices on the futures. So we can see how this drops, coming back up. We get these boxes. The green boxes are highlighting where the spikes in oil prices were and what your World Food Index was going at. So why that out one last time here? If we are going to go into unprecedented $200 per barrel of oil, never seen ever in human history at this price, where do you think the food is going to go? Because it looks like, at least on CPI basis, that the food was more than double at the apex of the highest of oil prices. And that 74, that gray bar there, that was the oil embargo that smashed the U.S. economy. New numbers out of Washington show inflation is on the rise again. Another threat to you, your savings account, and your retirement. Ask yourself an honest question. Does your dollar go as far as it did 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, or even last year? What does the next decade look like for you and your savings? If your portfolio lacks exposure to gold, one of history's most reliable economic hedges, it's time to rethink your strategy. Gold has kept up with inflation and in many periods outpaced it. My friends at Noble Gold Investments specialize in helping people protect their wealth with physical gold and silver. Whether you're rolling over an IRA or making a direct purchase, their team walks you through the entire process and makes it simple. No pressure, just education and experience. And the limited time offer March bonus, get a 1/10th ounce gold American Eagle coin for new qualified accounts. Visit 2030gold.com and discover how easy it is to protect your financial future. That's 2030gold.com. Click on that link in the description box below. So just step back and again, take a deep breath, analyzing the charts here. Every forecast now is this Strait of Hormuz is going to be closed far longer. There's only one last piece that if it gets eradicated from the ability to go the East-West pipeline for those 5 million barrels a day, we're going to go into such a state of contagion and fear here on the planet that our natural gas is not going to be there to create the fertilizers. The oil won't be there. Asian economies are going to get smashed first. America will get smashed, but we're going to recover last. We're going to get stuck in a quicksand trying to get out of this. The Asian economies will get on first as soon as the straits open back up, and they'll be fed gluttonously because they're on the side of the BRICS over there, predominantly. If oil really goes to $200 a barrel, our food is not going to be affordable. And at what point do you, they're going to start rationing? They might start some sort of handout. You might be required to go to a community work garden crew. These are the things that have occurred in the past. Nothing new under the sun here. I'm not inventing anything. I'm just looking at past cycles and what had occurred. Like what happened? How did they deal with it? Okay, well, when there wasn't enough labor to make something roll, they forced people into that. People were forced to the victory gardens in World War II so that war effort could go over to, Europe and Asia. If the food price really were to quadruple from here, how many people could afford that? Could you afford it? You definitely be needing to grow your own. Like there's so many factors at work here, but everything is pointing to, even if this thing unwinds today, the largest refineries in the Middle East is completely wiped out, or oil storage facilities completely wiped out. They're turning off all of the wells and the pumping into the storage facilities because the ones that aren't yet wiped out in flames are completely full. There's nowhere to unload to. They just smashed several carriers and, large crude carriers. I'll show you some of that. Cargo ships just got wiped, 5 of them yesterday. Like this is a real closure. This thing is going to go for more than a minute. And all analysis that I've seen says 2 months to unwind it, another month for factories to get back up to maximum production, and a month again behind on shipping and logistics to get all that and the freight forwarding smoothed out too. So you're looking at a 4-month delay. So if it stops tomorrow, which it ain't, 4 months delay on getting your life back to normal and mine. And I'm just curious the countries that are going to survive the best and get refed supplies that keep economies chugging first after this is over. So the lines over in China already beginning. This stretches back a good, I'd say half mile out of the station. Forbidden footage out of China. World's largest oil company, Saudi Aramco, cuts production at 2 fields. Yeah, they're running out of places to store it. And by the way, the Houthis just smashed their southern border oil facilities. That's an ongoing story. But the Ras Tanura refining facility up in smoke. This is another Houthi attack. So you can see this oil VIX, or like VIX, the amount of fear in the market went from 30 to 120. That's this is not really a price on a stock. It's a volatility index on oil specifically. And when we're looking at here, the global energy and commodity force majeure, meaning they can't deliver to you because, well, there's a war going on and the supplies are shut in. This is going to be a global thing. It starts now, just like COVID did. It started here, it moved slowly, it did this, it kind of crept here, then suddenly, wham. We are following a 2.0 on this. It started there, the contagion zone, disruption center right there, but it is quickly spreading to those super reliant on Middle Eastern oil. We in America and Canada are not so much. Indonesia is a major oil producer themselves, so maybe they'll ask to step up. Hey, bring it on. We can boost your production. Let's do it. Africa, they do have a lot of oil production there. But here's the thing that really, took it to a new level yesterday. The cargo ships got hit in the Strait of Hormuz. And I was looking at that saying, all right, what kind are the cargo ships are there? There's one that's actually a container ship just like this, but note to point. Maersk Ocean Shipping suspending all Middle East cargo at least until March 21st, and that's probably going to be extended. All the people trying to leave Dubai at the same time here. Something's gone terribly wrong. Even their PR campaign to say, hey, it's safe, you're cool, everything, keep investing, it's falling on deaf ears, So over here to the attacks against dry bulk container shipping. And by the way, the U.S. Navy hit one of those by accident. Oops. So I wanted to see which these cargo ships, what are they throwing out here? So we got the Thailand flagged bulk carrier, Marshall Islands flagged, and Japan flagged container ships. So the first two are bulk carriers. So they were carrying dry bulk, wheat, coal, iron ore, bauxite, and fertilizers. That's the one that was concerning me, the fertilizers. Then we come over and look at the other two ships in the Star Gwyneth, grains, bauxite, alumina, or other raw materials in bulk, i.e. fertilizers. And then Japan, that was just a flag container ship. Regular boxes on that. So here is the one that was hit. And now, they got bulkheads on the door. So once they get hit, they dogged everything down and they were able to keep the ship from sinking. How ships are designed. But here's the hole in the hull. Say that 3 times fast. And that's some damage that's going to take a minute to fix up. And carriers and insurers are super not into it right now. And by the way, the U.S. Navy tells shipping industry Hormuz escorts not possible for now. Right after the AP confirms that a projectile hit a cargo ship in the Strait of Hormuz from the U.S. Navy. Bad targeting against Iranian mine-laying vessel. So this thing is just gone totally out of control. And for me to read that statement that the U.S. Navy can no longer, guarantee shipping, wait a minute, we were supposed to be controlling that place, at least in our news, telling us it's almost over. We're totally in control. And they're even saying we don't have enough control to bring ships through. Like, you can't have it on both ends. Like, which is it? We're in total control, things almost over, or it's complete quagmire and we can't even control anything and we can't even get the ships through because that's too dangerous for our Navy to get through there. You can't have it both ways. Like, what's going on? Fog of war, I get it. There's a lot of things going on AI these days. You can't really tell how stuff's new. So what is it really? I mean, if our Navy is terrified to go through and bring ships through, then something's the sniff test again, the sniff, just common sense sniff test. Seems like it's off a little bit. And those were just the dry bulk carriers that get hit. But then some oil tankers got smashed up yesterday too. So oil tanker, this is near Basra coast. You get the whole Iraqi, Kuwaiti, you just follow the Gulf through there and see where the coastlines are. And the explosions are tremendous. And they're far afield. That's 2 of those vessels right there engulfed completely. Like, this is what's happening. They're starting to strike the actual carrying capacity of that oil out of the Gulf. It's not that they blew up a pipeline. They're shooting at the ships now that are bringing the oil out. That's a very large fireball. And I noticed this right away, the reflections. Like, these fires are so vast and so gigantic that one is lighting up the mountains in the background near Tehran. And then these 2 very large crude carriers, sending just starlight through the ocean waters, reflective. Same, but different. Like, these are 2 quintessential images here so far of the conflict that mean food prices up. And Michael Yon, who I talk to occasionally, the giga famine will be the most severe famine in human history. And I really hope you're wrong, Michael, but I'm agreeing with you that we're having a huge problem with fertilizer like right now. So he was pointing out the de-industrialization of everywhere you see here is a fertilizer plant that was closed in Europe. So even if they do get the LNG back online again from Qatar and send it up by pipe somehow, 20% of the world's natural gas was going, at least in part here, to produce fertilizers in all these different places, which creates a huge problem. Well, the even bigger problem is Ras Tourna, that was completely destroyed, or at least largely destroyed. They completely shut it down. So these wholesale rates don't even apply anymore. And look how outside the norm they were. They were to record highs. And the one was going to Ningbo, which is in China, and the other Rotterdam, Europe there. These rates don't even apply because they can't even get to even ship anymore. Just put a big red X across this one here. Because the smoking refinery cannot be loaded. It only had 550,000 barrels a day of crude coming out of it, and that is completely offline. So now it's not about it being blockaded, or the ships that are being sunk can't carry anymore. Now the actual oil loading terminals / refineries are being destroyed, one after the other after the other. They're not coming back for decades, plural, if they ever do. Like, these are offline indefinitely. So that just puts a whole new twist into this Rubik's Cube that we're looking at here. Just destroyed at least 3 of the world's largest refineries / oil loading areas on the planet. The pipelines are next. There's the Achilles heel of all Achilles heel. There's only one left. It's so easy to see. So I want you to also take a gauge at this story here. The IEA proposes largest ever oil release from strategic reserves. I'd covered that before, and they were deciding on how much to release, and they were going to get out it the next day. Well, here's the next day for you. 400 million barrels. 400 million on 32 countries. That's more than 10 million per country. And you ask yourself, what is going on? Well, Bahrain's refinery, Qatar's largest LNG and world's largest LNG plant, Ruwas in Abu Dhabi, Aramco in Saudi Arabia, hitting tankers with, drone boats. You got the Strait of Hormuz closed, and it's very clean the way he's stated it here, Mario. Iran's not just closing the Strait of Hormuz, they're dismantling every alternative route and facility simultaneously. Which brings me to Highlander. There shall be only one. The East-West, 5 million barrel a day. It's almost a full pressurization as of tomorrow, which will be able to load those ships, which there's 20 plus of them waiting in line on the Red Sea. This is your number one target here. If this goes, so does the world. And Xavier Blas putting this one out. I want to dissect. Okay, the first paragraph is talking about 35% of the oil that normally gets out of the Strait of Hormuz is still reaching markets, because Iran's letting some go to China, some's going by pipe, but there's still some coming out. If they get that East-West pipeline on, that's going to jump back to 63, which means Iran's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz is pretty much going to be, going to have a very minimal impact at that point. So the East-West pipeline, they're about to bring another 5 to 10 million barrels online going through those pipelines over to the Red Sea. So since the Iranians are systematically destroying all oil infrastructure, do you really think that thing's going to be allowed to stay and pump? Because once it goes offline, our oil prices are going to start skyrocketing. There's no other alternative to get any oil or gas out of there. It's going to come by ship. And since all those loading ports, refineries, oil field storage, since those are all being taken out one by one, and so many vast, gigantic stock market crashing size have already been taken out, we've stepped into a new world. Now, again, it's not because of fear doing the video here. It's just to let you understand that fertilizer is being greatly affected. And with that, food pricing is going to be greatly affected. And with the oil price and diesel prices going up, gasoline and diesel both, then your transportation costs are going to be affected greatly by getting that food to market, in addition to what it would cost for the additional planting and different fees. If we can even get the regular, like pesticides, herbicides, fungicides that they use through the year for certain crops, which I'm not a fan of, but it's just the way it is. Some food better than no food. Like, all those things are totally reliant and 100% reliant on fossil fuel production that has just been knocked out at the knees. I am absolutely unequivocally saying there's that one major gigantic thing with the bullseye on it, that East-West pipeline. And if you read in the news the next 3 to 5 days or 2 days or whatever, that thing is taken out, then our world changes at that point. As much as Pearl Harbor changed the world, that taking out and destruction of the East-West pipeline will be an equivalent of, yeah, the world's going to move into a completely different direction. Like our economy will be reset during these events here. And that was all part of the plan anyway, was it not? To get us away from this fiat-backed system that is so just deep in debt that it can never be paid back ever, that it needs to come to a new system. And that switch over in the system of revaluing money 100 to 1 to 1,000 to 1 will bring us back to some sort of, well, it's manageable at that point. So how do you protect yourself from all these things? That's the question. Your rising food prices, the switch over of the currency, things are going to get tremendously, atrociously expensive. That's not quite hyperinflation, but you're getting there. So I wish you the best in, weighing out your different options and what you might think about. But having storable foods is going to be one of those, as well as having seeds to be able to plant. You're going to need to grow your own food again. This is not going to be a choice. It's going to be a necessity. I'm just wondering if finally mind over matter and this combined 80-90% of the people who don't want the war can actually use their minds and remanifest a different reality, like bending the hologram back compared to these 2% warmongers that want everything to go forever so they can continuously sell and destroy and rebuild, that whole infinite circle jerk that they have going on there. So I do appreciate you watching. Hope you got something out of the video. My Patriot Supply and Adapt 2030 4-week food supply. Also have a 3-day and a 7-day to dip your toe in the water. And also trueleafmarket.com, heirloom and organic seeds for any grow zone on the planet. Those links are in the description box below. I'll see you next time for the next update. Bye for now.